Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Tarot by Janine. It's another world news. Just trying to get caught up here because last week was so busy full of other videos. So I didn't have time to do the world newses until this weekend. So thanks for waiting. We got some really cool questions, and I put up what I was going to talk about. We're going to talk about white hats. Just sort of do a check-in, but that'll be towards the end. We're going to start by looking at various different known people in the world, both political and one or two. We're going to throw in a few non-political figures here that are still being talked about and circulated information about as if they're still alive. For instance, even truthers talking about Zuckerberg as if he's still alive. Fascinating, right? And talking about Obama. And like it's so weird. Bill Gates. So we're going to start with Bill Gates because that's a big one. People talking about him like he's still here. Like, come on, pretty obvious he isn't. We're going to look, but let's have a look. Let's double check with the cards. This is the idea, and just get a check in. Like, is what we were getting a year ago still the case? Like, what's going on? So it'll be like a recap. This is going to be, we're going to go over some things and see what the cards say. Like fresh again, right? So Bill Gates, will start there. Obama, Zuckerberg, Soros, Tony Podesta. Nobody's actually seen him, according to this thing I circulated. He hasn't really been seen in the political scene since 2017. Maybe just some posts and stuff, but not literally seen. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. 2017, he was last seen. And Tom Hanks. So we're gonna look at Tom Hanks again. So I've looked at Tom Hanks. First, I got for the first couple of years of the shutdown, he was the one that was signaling that Hollywood was all pedophilia and adrenochrome, and he was a big adrenochrome pusher. Okay, then I got 2 years later that he was a white hat or working for the white hats and turning a lot of people in. Then I further looked into it because everybody was freaking out. And that makes sense because we got it pretty clear for 2 years that he was a real bad guy right from the get-go. Then I got that the person that was playing him for the last couple of years might have been the one. It looked like that person. So they replaced Tom Hanks. And so he originally was a really bad guy. They replaced him, and then he was working for the White Hats. So he was an undercover Tom Hanks, possibly even pre-pandemic. Okay, it's like, I don't know. So let's get more clarity on Tom Hanks because people still see movies with him in it, and they still see, that can all be faked, of course. And don't forget, I think it was Tom Hanks who recently said on a social media post that he could be alive for hundreds of years with all this, AI brilliance they got out there. So all the fakery, basically, and the way they can fake stuff, he could be still in the movies like 200 years from now kind of thing, right? So that was interesting. Maybe that was a nod to how they do it, right? It's all fake. But anyway, we're going to double check on where do we sit with Tom Hanks because he seems to be a bit of a trickster in the whole good guy, bad guy thing. So yeah, we're going to start with Bill Gates, Obama, Zuckerberg, Soros, Tony Podesta, and Tom Hanks. And I know there's lots more, but we don't have, all every single data. We can't do them all. But we could look at also the white hats. So at the end, we want to look at where do the white hats sit in the war? How are we sitting? Because there's a lot of people losing faith in the white hats. And in particular, very well-known truthers talking, smack about the white hats. So we want to double check on what the universe thinks their role is, and are they living up to expectations by the universe? And how does the universe feel about their job and what they're doing and how they're doing it? Okay, so we're going to do that. And then I just wanted to just chime something in here. I've been getting like about 4 emails that were quite concerned with my reading on Tina Turner. And people are circulating like she was a Buddhist and, could have been a lot nicer person than I made her out to be. Yeah, because I made her out to be literally in the club in a big way. Now, I just want to remind you guys, okay, a couple of things. A tarot reader is getting what her cards say. So it's not necessarily my opinion, but the cards said that, so I said it. You know, and I know some people don't believe that, but that's just how it works with the card readers. And also, I want to say, didn't we also think for many years that Tom Hanks was like your uncle next door, and then horrendous things about pedophilia came out? Okay, and didn't we also think, wasn't that Oprah such a nice person? Didn't she also do a lot of good work, spiritual work, brought a lot of spiritual gurus onto the scene, all of which now are suspect, if you want my opinion? You bet. If you were endorsed by her, I don't know, right? At least in her later years when she was absolutely part of the club. Okay, so we all thought, a lot of people, those very same people who might have thought Tina Turner was nice, right? Too nice to be in the dark cult. Well, they do nice things out there, you know, because they need to keep in secret. They're secretive. Okay. They're not going to show you that they're adrenochrome junkies. You know what I mean? And then there's Oprah, who clearly, remember when she fell down off her big high heels there in public, thousands and thousands and thousands of people watching? That was the last time we publicly saw her. That was the last time you actually saw Oprah, at least from what my card said. That big fall down publicly was trying to tell you something. She's coming down. Okay, they were taking down one of the biggest queens of the cabal. Okay, and you can throw, it looks like Tina Turner wasn't too much better, frankly. Okay, but that's just what I got, you know, so you can write me and tell me I'm wrong about it or whatever, but you know, that's not, you're not going to get anywhere, because I'm going to believe my cards, because we're going to give it a little time. Like if you have a feeling like that, just, you know, write it down to yourself or something, and keep it, you know, or talk to your friends about it, but definitely don't write me and tell me I must be wrong about that. Okay, because do you know how many times I've read for people over 35 years where the person couldn't believe a single word I said, and it all turned out to be true? Do you know what a reoccurring story that is for a card reader? Okay, so you can write me and tell me I'm all wrong about it, but it's not going to get you anywhere, is what I'm getting at. Okay, because I'm always going to trust my cards over your research. Okay, and something somebody said, or some article that was out there about a person. Okay, all of that could be made up, and that's exactly what the reading said. Nothing she put out there about herself was true. She lived a totally different life than she portrayed, and that's what counts to me. Okay, so just keep that opinion. You don't need to listen to a word I say, but maybe keep it in the back of your mind. Okay. Oh, Janine said that. That's interesting. I'm not buying it, but let me just file it. And then let's check back in 6 months or 3 months. You know what I mean? Or a year or whatever. Okay. And then we'll see. Okay. So, yeah, interesting. Okay. So let's have a look at Bill Gates. So we're just looking around. What is he doing now? Is he on the earth plane? Now, when I talk about these people, I am talking about, so let me get this one clear on Bill Gates. Not the very original Bill Gates, because about 11 years ago, might have been slightly less, apparently him and his wife were rounded up outside a village in India, I believe it was, and hung for crimes against what they did to the villagers and their children. Okay, so that's the strong rumor. And then, of course, the cabal loved the income that they got. So they kept their brand going and replaced them with these two totally swapped gendered couple. So a Bill Gates, a new Bill Gates, and a new, so the Bill Gates we were seeing for years, and the new Melinda or whatever she was clearly a guy and he was clearly a woman. I mean, you wouldn't even actually need much of an imagination to figure that one out. And yeah, they were interesting and carried on the work of, so it's literally by then just a brand. Okay, just like Meghan and Harry are a brand. Okay, it's not them you've been seeing for, the whole thing was just a charade. The whole thing was a brand right from the get-go. Just a riot. These things are a riot. But so the Bill Gates I'm talking about, sorry, I'm going to ramble tonight. The Bill Gates I'm talking about is the replaced one that we've been seeing even in the last 4 or 5 years. Okay, that one. That's what I'm going to. Okay, I'm not talking about the original Bill Gates. They're long gone, him and Melinda. They're like actual original. When you look at pictures, you can see when they were switched. And it's really obvious, the big nosed new Melinda that comes onto the scene, who's like really unattractive female, who's, when Melinda Gates originally was a really attractive woman. And then this little meek and tiny headed Bill Gates, who's clearly got the skeletal features of a female. Like, give me a break. Like, it's such a riot. Like, Bill Gates has a tiny head, and then the body gets bigger and a small neck, and then Melinda there is a ginormous head, and everything gets smaller after that. Like, it's like, come on. Anyway, that's the Bill Gates I'm talking about. That recent Bill Gates. What's going on with him? Interesting. This card can be about legal issues and or being called up on, needing a lawyer, things like that, brought to justice. Now, this is interesting. So I actually think he's still alive. Okay, not functioning in a way that he's presenting himself. But he capitulated, it looks like. So he capitulated, and it has something to do with crimes against humanity and children. Okay. And he was brought, so he was served and rounded up and then capitulated and agreed to tell on his friends. So he agreed to tell, and probably still is doing some telling. He'll be dealt with in the next year, it looks like. So we've got this, yeah. So everything you think you know about him is a lie. We got that again. Okay. All of this philanthropic work that supposedly he's doing. Okay. That people don't bother writing me and telling me, oh no, I heard he's really good with people, okay, all of that's made up. Okay. And if you're good friends with him and he lives down the block, I'm still not going to believe you. Okay. I'm just not. Okay. My cards are saying the guy's a big scumbag, and he was rounded up and capitulated, gives information, could even still have some information that he trades, for his, them taking a little more time, putting him through a tribunal or whatever. That he looks still around, and he's still facing a lot of things he's done against humans, in particular children, and humanity in general, crimes against humans and humanity. Okay, so that's Bill Gates. Let's look at Obama. Yeah, because we see him supposedly, chiming in on all kinds of things. And rumors that he's going to run in 2024. Oh, really? First of all, he couldn't. Okay, maybe Big Mike could, because he had his 8 years of oppression and total lies. Unfortunately, he let him do 8 years of that. That was horrifying. Okay, so let's have a look. What's Obama up to? And it's really hilarious, because when Obama first got in, I was as fooled as anybody. Trust me, I had to learn the hard way what a scumbag he was and what a CIA plant, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing that he appeared to be. He was all fake right from the get-go. And they were just using everybody's wokeness, and, people wanted other than a white president, of course, right? Of course, a multicultural place like the US should not just have white presidents, and they should also have a female president and or world, or US leader. If the US looks anything like going forward. Like, I don't think it'll be the same at all, politics. So yeah, we won't even go down there. But anyway, like, a lot of people fell for that psyop, that he was this cool guy, grassroots thing, blah, blah. Turns out he's a total plant, CIA plant, just a absolute dark culter, and unfortunately brought up in the cult. Really gross stories about his childhood, and nothing about him is true either. Just like Big Mike. That was also fascinating, finding these things out. But here he is. Okay, so we've got the Four of Wands and we've got the Hierophant. So he was really high up in, and from childhood, a in the cult family. So he was a puppet of the cult, you bet. And really, really strong. Like, other people puppeted him though. Like, I don't think they used him for those 8 years. And but he had way bigger people pulling the strings up in the cult. So he's not any kind of leader in the cult. He had big puppeteers working his, yanking his chain, you bet. Okay, he was a nobody actually, and they just used him just for what he looked like and stuff, and how they could, I guess, they probably MK altered him so he could get away with, the way he public spoke. People just assumed he had that funny little way that it was, quirky or whatever. Turns out it was probably just MK altering and mind control. I mean, unbelievable. But anyway, so I'm thinking here, 4 years ago, he was rounded up by the look of it. And again, interesting. I'm not sure he's off the earth plane, even though a lot of people say he has been dealt with. I'm not sure about that because we've got that Ace of Wands. So I wonder if they're saving him. I wonder if they're saving him to really publicly, show a tribunal, or at least publicly claim that they're, dealing with somebody like him. Yeah, I feel like they got a plan for him, and maybe he hasn't really been done away with. None of these are death cards here. So I don't think he's actually, but he's definitely not running around loose. Okay, no, he's too big of a cabal member here. He's a total puppet to the cabal, but they're going to deal with him in a unique way. They got a unique plan for him, it looks like. So I don't think they've all the way took care of Obama. So that's interesting. Let's have a look at Zuckerberg. Okay, so he was mentioned. I think even Carrie Cassidy talked about him as if he was real. I wonder if she means his brand still functioning out there. I mean, if he was rounded up, Zuckerberg, if that turns out to be true, I doubt if his brand would still be in the hands of the black hats. This is what confuses me with some truthers. It's like they don't seem to give any kind of nod to tribunals or anything like that, but yet they nod to Q and all kinds of other intel that would lead you to believe they should be seeing but anyway, whatever, it's, they got really cool intel of all kinds of other kinds, but it's like they miss that or something. It's like you'd think they could put that together, but I don't know. Yeah, or maybe I totally got it wrong. You know what I mean? Let's have a look. Zuckerberg, what's going on? Is he still with us? Like, what's going on? Okay, that's a gossip and innuendo card. White hat, Mr. T in the white hats. Yeah, this guy came over to the good side. So Zuckerberg came over to the good side, but he's undercover. So he came over, and he might have even come over on his own accord because he knew the gig was up. And it could have been years ago, actually. It could have been even 4 years ago or 3 years ago. So he came over and made a deal, and he's still making deals, okay, with Yeah, so he's not off the earth plane either. Isn't that wild? Wow. Okay, so I know a lot of people, they see these lists, but I think those lists are for down the road. I think those are wish lists, or they're for down the road, what they're going to do. Do you know what I mean? Because the whole thing going on here is things have either happened already and we're just hearing about them or trying to figure them out, and they even happened years ago, or they're going to happen, and but people are already talking like they did happen, as if they're manifesting it. So it's a very strange, like I said, it's an information war, it's a timeline war. There's all of that too, right? So he came over and ratted out all his friends here, it looks like, and he's been very useful, but it doesn't mean he doesn't have he has a lot of his own things that he's going to be held accountable for. But yeah, he's been very useful, and he literally came and offered his services to the White Hats, and I'm thinking 3 to 4 years ago. Wow. But I don't get he's in circulation with that. I don't think that's the guy. What you're seeing is somebody with a mask on. He's working in the background. Okay, so Soros. There's been all kinds of reports, some people say he passed over years ago, and his sons, and that's actually what I've gotten in the past. His sons have been just running the palace or whatever, the castle. They've been running things for Soros for a long time, and it's all just been, they're carrying on the dad's work. Okay, but that could have even stopped, because that Juan Osavitz a couple of times now announced that Soros was passed over. So it's like, okay, what's going on? What is going on? But they still out there in the world, like normies, think he's still alive. So I find that fascinating. Okay, so we've got, so a double is like, he definitely not, it's his sons. It's his, whatever you hear about Soros or whatever he's supposed to be doing, his sons are carrying on the family tradition. He was gone a long time ago. I would even say 10 years ago. So he could have been gone for years. Actual Soros, like his young sons here, or younger than him sons, running the show, you guys. He's gone a very long time ago. So we got the queen, sons, and maybe even there's a daughter in there, or a woman, or like she feels younger too. She doesn't feel as old as him. So not like somebody his age group, but there's a woman and a couple of sons. So I don't know who she is. Okay. And she's kind of witchy, and it's not well aspected with the moon underneath it here. It's not well aspected. Okay, so she's maybe helping with the illusion that, or helped with the illusion that he was still alive. Yeah, he's long gone. They're going to announce him, and they're going to make it look like it just happened. So they're going to do some kind of an exiting, and it'll be an official exiting, but he's long gone. Remember, like the queen? Okay, so the queen, and also her creepy husband, Philip, they were on ice for a long time before they actually did, the announcement. Yeah, they were like long gone. And just like that, Soros too. Soros has been gone for at least 10 years. I'd even say 12 years. And it looks like they're going to wait and just choose a time to announce him passing. Yeah, so he's long gone. Okay, Tony Podesta. Okay, this guy's not literally been, a lot of people say, even though they sometimes throw his name around as if he's still around, which I find fascinating. I think 2017 was likely the time he was rounded up, because they had so much on him, leaked like audio with him torturing and raping and just hideous things he was doing to a young boy in a shower. Okay, there's that. And then there's so many, all of those, well, of course, we know what happened with his laptop. Was it, or Hillary, can't remember, was he the guy with the laptop? No, well, it could have been him with the laptop info too. But there was a whole bunch of laptop info leaks, but I think it had something to do with emails between him and Hillary Clinton and emails. Well, I think a lot of the Pizzagate stuff was around Tony Podesta. And then, of course, there was leaked pictures of the art on his wall, and not even leaked, like I don't even think he would have cared back then, because, he thought he could get away with anything. But the guy's 1000%, a pedo. There's no two ways about it. But how long's he been gone? Is he gone? Is he still ratting on his friends? What's he up to? Definitely a high player in the cabal. He had a very unique position, it says. He had a really unique position. I'd say he's been gone here. He was taken, and then they dealt with him in a very unique way. So that's interesting. I wonder what that was. Not the usual way, it says. And anybody walking around pretending to be him is a younger version of him. Okay, or if you see any visuals of him and they're claiming to be actually him, that's fake. Okay, or they're using CGI or something, and it's a younger version of him, it keeps saying. Okay, so in the middle here, I think about a year ago, he might have been done away with for his crimes against humanity and his cult connection and everything to do with what he was doing there. But rounded up about 5 years ago. So 2017, is that 5 years ago? Probably, right? 18, 19, 20. About 6 years ago, 2017. So maybe it was more like 2018. He was rounded up. Maybe it was the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. And then about a year ago, he was dealt with in a very unique way, it says. So wowza. That makes me happy, though, because that guy's one. Yeah, like, do you just have to look at him? You know what kind of scumbag you're dealing with. All of these guys, actually, but we don't know for sure about Tom Hanks. So I just want to clear up with the cards here, because it was going back and forth there. It was hard to understand and hard to get to the bottom of it. So we know he was at least, Tom Hanks, he was at least used at the beginning of the pandemic. I think that was all a psyop that he was running, and he got caught, him and his wife, and they were in probably Gitmo, but they were getting pictures taken of themselves. All of that, I believe, was psyoped. Okay. And they were just trying to get you to look into Tom Hanks. So everybody started deep diving on Tom Hanks, and then all this stuff came out. Okay. But what I want to know is the original Tom Hanks. When did he go? And was he replaced? And if he was replaced, was that Tom Hanks working undercover for the White Hats? So first we'll start with the original Tom Hanks, the guy that they call actual Tom Hanks. How, is he still with us? Is he passed over? When did he pass over? If we can get that, that would be good. Oh, he's long gone, guys. And at the height of his fame, it looks like. So at the height of his fame. So the height of his fame was, I'd say it was, well, he had so many huge blockbuster movies. I mean, height of his fame, probably Forrest Gump, hey? What do you guys think? Write in the comments what you think. Would it be Forrest Gump, maybe? Yeah, so he actually, wow, height of his fame, he got taken out. Now, isn't that interesting? And then the person you saw was a white hat op. Yeah. So interesting. Here's where I do actually really respect and appreciate Carrie Cassidy, because I don't agree with a whole lot of what she says, but I know she brings some really cool stuff that otherwise nobody would know. And she has some great, intel from insiders and stuff, which is really cool. Okay. But the part that I really respect about her is she lays out that the White Hats have been around for at least 20 plus years, maybe longer. And I didn't know that till I started hearing what she had to say about it, and made a lot of sense. And then I did my own looking with the cards, and sure enough, it looked like she was right. And so I really appreciated that. She does bring it, she brings some good stuff. Okay, but then goes off on these tangents that I don't agree with, but that's just me. And she probably doesn't like my tangents. You know what I mean? So I'm not making a judgment on her work. One of us in some of these areas are going to be right, and one of us going to be wrong about some of the things we're really on opposite ends of the poles on. But that's okay, because we both bring some good stuff in the middle there, right? But anyway, so we've got this magician here. So he was replaced, and then he was completely switched over for the good of humanity, and he ratted out, and they used him to rat out so they had him as a runner for the party substance. So they literally used him. He was under deep cover, and but this is his double. So it's not really him now. So a long time ago, could have even been 6 years ago, it looks like, he could have been taken out. And then it looks like he was used as a runner for and selling adrenochrome, and then ratting out so he got a lot of deep intel on his cohorts that were buying adrenochrome off him. And that's where that whole thing came from, because he became known in Hollywood to be a distributor of adrenochrome, which of course, unless he was a deep cover, that would make him a real bad guy. But it looks like he was a bad guy to start with. He got taken out early days of the White Hats and then replaced, and he was running cover for the White Hats after that. So years of running cover. So that's why there's the two versions of Tom Hanks. So that actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's see. Now let's look at the White Hats. So we want to ask, how does the universe feel about the way the White Hats are conducting themselves, and where does the universe place the White Hats and where they sit right now? Are they happy with them? Are they, upset with them? Like, what does the universe say about them, the White Hats? Well, I was waiting to see what was underneath this too. So the White Hats play both sides of the fence to some degree. A lot of people complain about that, where they'll also psyop us and give us false information, etc. But the universe knows it's for the good of, and likely keeping children and trafficked children safe, or some of them at least. So I feel like the secrets kept by these guys, and the way they're secretive about their approach to things, and how they even straight up psyop us, as well as the bad guys doing the same thing, but they do it, of course, for different reasons with a different intention. And they're trying to wake us up, and I feel like the universe is not in disagreement. In fact, they look like they're agreeing with the tactic, or it needs to be done, and it has something to do with the safety of maybe the people saving the children, but also the children themselves and people being trafficked. And it's like a means to an end, like it has to, even though it's iffy, and they play both sides. They need the secrecy. They need, like, it's what's been moving us out of troubled water, and it's also moving us to a better financial system. And it looks like the White Hats are, almost at the end of that, thank goodness, but it's been necessary. So the universe is not against it. Wow. Okay, well, I'm going with that then. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching my video. And yeah, sending you guys ravens from the Haida Gwaii. Bye-bye.